Hi gang, Scott here. Welcome to In Post and thanks for joining me today. Today's video is a live edit, live in air quotes, as I'm not live streaming. I'm editing a photo from start to finish that I've never edited before. Just turn on record, start the edit, go all the way through, finish the edit, and we see what we get on the other side. Might work out well, might not. There'll be mistakes, there'll be backtracking. I'll explain my thought process as I'm going through things. Hopefully we emerge with a pretty good photo. That's kind of the goal here, but you get to see the raw process of workflow, where it's not a straight line, and it isn't like we see in tutorials, mine included, where there's A, B, and C, and behold, you have a wonderful photo. There's work, there's thought, there's mistakes we make, and so that's what we do here in this live edit. So with that, I shared a video earlier in the week, a little silent film, or at least instrumental film, about this outing to La Jolla, and I captured this photo. The sky was really interesting in that there was this very crisp line of where the clouds ended, and that was retreating fast. It just kept moving out to sea. And I was able to get a bit of it by the time the sun got down to the horizon for sunset. This cloud bank up here, it was like way down here in the frame. It was just rushing out to sea. So this was the one that I kind of liked, and I wanted to work on it here. And so first thing, real quick assessment of the photo. The top empty space has got to go. I'm just going to crop this thing. I'm thinking 16 by 9. There's a little booger of something down in this lower right corner as well. And then it certainly needs to have some exposure correction. There's a significant amount that's underexposed. As far as color and mood and so forth, I'm just going to see where things take me. I'm less concerned about accurately representing the colors here, because this isn't a particularly colorful scene. It is a nice warm cool palette, but just to have some fun with it maybe there in the color space. So with that, let's start with a crop. I said 16 by 9. That should be a good place to begin, and certainly want the sky, and I don't really need that little bit underneath here, and maybe pan to the right just some, so that there's a nice line coming in from the corner, so that little curl of oceans coming in there. This overlay, this crop overlay, is called triangle, I believe. It's like a rule of thirds golden spiral approximation. These points would be the spirals. But this is pretty well balanced. A nice line here. There's a bit of a line kind of helping us find our way to the center point, where this is our subject. This end rock, got the nice sunbeams. Let's take that. And next, let's, I should have kept that crop open. Let's check the horizon line. There we go. That's pretty nice. Did my lens corrections get applied? Yes, they did. Okay. All right. So first up, let's get into basics. Let's audition landscape. Richer, a little bluer. That's a little better. It's still pretty dark. Let's hit auto. Okay. Yeah, this is going to need some work. Those oranges up in the sky there, those are like thermonuclear. That is not looking nice at all. And I'm going to bet it's going to get even worse if I try to say, oh, well, surf should be white. Yeah, it's terrible. So we'll go in the opposite direction here. Let's tone down. So I'll do this. I'm going to white balance for the sky, just kind of eyeballing it until it feels kind of natural, maybe around there. And then for the foreground, let's grab a gradient, drag that up, and fade it out around there. What's happening here? Dehaze. Okay, I don't want dehaze. I do want, basically I want something custom, because I want to do exposure. I want to raise up exposure, so we get some brightness back in there. Probably open up some shadows, and warm it up some, but not too much. So something like that. Let's see. Just kind of balancing out the exposure. I need to bring that up a little bit, maybe bring that down, make that a little bit of a tighter feather. Let's see. Not bad. Actually, that's interesting as I'm playing with this. Okay, where my mind just went. That is interesting, the increase in exposure there, but I like it for more just the center part of the photo. So as the rocks here got brighter and this sweep got brighter, but I don't want to have too much brightness coming around the edges. So I'm going to hold that thought and just kind of get things balanced out. And now, while we're here, a little texture in the foreground. Actually, let me not do that. I haven't done texture in the basics panel. Let's just do texture overall for the photo. Touch of clarity, not too much. All right, okay. So let's go back to that foreground. I really want to get the tonality of this photo right before I do anything else. So we're covering up everything there. Highlights is doing better. And I still feel like it's a little dark. Maybe there. Let me grab an elliptical and kind of do this dehaze. I don't know why it's dehaze keeps showing up. All right, exposure. Invert, so I'm affecting inside of the elliptical. There we go. And so now, bias that way a little bit to add some brightness there. Okay, real quick check, just an immediate before and after. So this is where we started. This is where we are now. The center part still feels kind of muddy, and quite honestly, that may be where it lands. There's not a lot of light out there, and if I keep pushing these pixels too much, it's might be a little bit rough. Let's see. This part here has gotten. Now, there's not much texture in there to begin with. What I was looking for to see is, does it have any more of these bits and streaks in there to bring up some of the water? Let's try this. Another new pin. Here we go. There's that great dehaze again. We'll do a burn, inverted, and what I'm interested in burning is only kind of the shady part. So if I use my picker, and I've got many different videos about doing luminosity range masks and so forth with the pickers, with other tools, and let's tighten up on the smoothness and reduce on the highlight range. So what we're getting is we're darkening kind of the fingers in between the whitewash, something like that. Let's turn off the range mask, and I'll double click exposure quickly before, after. It's kind of working, it's kind of not. It seems to be too much on the range. Let's tighten up even more so. So we're getting less and less of those midtones before, undo, after. That's better. I think I need to couple it with another one. Duplicate. I'll move that pin over a little bit. And this time I want the range to be the brighter parts, because we'll do the opposite. We'll add a little bit of a dodge to that area. Something like that, and then we'll just nudge this in the positive direction. And then those two things put together, before and after. We have that third one kind of highlighting the center. Okay, that's not bad. I feel like I need to revisit the white balance though, because this feels unnatural. This top part being so yellow, and this bottom part still being kind of cool. The two don't align. They don't make sense. So back to the white balance and returning some coolness. Oh boy, I'm going to have to treat that individually. Undo that. Because there is such a differential in this scene. All right, so we'll pull that down, cover the top of the photo. Here's my temperature. Let's just zero that out. So this is where we are without any change. And then start to nudge some coolness in there. Just a little bit. All right. Before, after. before, after. That's better. That's better. All right, I need to take a look at before and after here. Before the entire photo. After. Not too bad. I think what we'll do here is I'm going to bring this over into On1 effects just to add some punch to the rocks. I want to add some dynamic contrast to those guys. So let me fire this over into On1 Photo Raw. I'm going to send this over as a smart photo. So I'm going to do a File, Plugin Extras, Smart Photo. Send this over there and then add some dynamic contrast. So let me get that plugin workflow going here, and then I'll see you at the other side. Here I am in On1 Effects. Let me get that dynamic contrast filter added, and I'm really paying attention to the rocks, before and after. Actually, you know, for the scene overall, it looks pretty good, but I want it just to be really accentuating the rocks, and so I think the way that we'll do that, open up the masking area, and right now I'm masking everywhere, right? So if I view the mask, we're just going to see like a big white mask. Okay, fine. What I want is for the mask to be strongest here. I'm just kind of pointing, I'm not painting. The strongest here, and then taper out and be weak. So let's use a bug, and let's use the edges shape. So we're masking away from the edges. So I'm shaping this to kind of just cover the rocks as a whole, and then we'll feather it out, a pretty healthy feather. On1's feathers tend to taper off pretty quickly, and so to get a nice smooth feather, I've got to have a very wide segment from the inner circle to the outer circle. Let me view that. Let's view it as a red overlay. And now I want to decrease the density. And so what we should see is the red is disappearing, right? And what that means is I'm adding some dynamic contrast to the scene overall. Like, you know, at this point, let's see, I got a 46% strength. And you can see that in the mask window there. If I switch that over to grayscale, you know, here's what the mask looks like grayscale. Here we go with our red overlay. And turn off the view. That means we're getting some of that contrast added outside, before and after, but the rocks are getting the biggest pop, right? And that's exactly what we want. And now I can even fine-tune things. I can push the smalls up a little bit, maybe the mediums and larges. Let me get my zoom tool here so we can really take a look at this rock face here. Before those changes, after. Yeah, that is better for sure. That's adding some punch there. I like that. Okay, zoom back out. Command 0. While I'm in On1, is there anything else I want to do here? Well, they have a really good vignette tool. I might as well just do my vignette here. I'm doing a smart photo, so I always can open it back up and re-edit if I need to. Where I work with things, I like to start with subtle. I'm kind of a subtle guy. I'll take the brightness down and the feather down so I can see where that vignette is. Shrink that down some, and then position it, as this is where I want people to look. And I got my sunburst, my rock, nice little sweep of land there. Fade it out, and then taper off that brightness so it's you kind of almost don't notice it's there, right? Before and after. We don't notice it's there. That's a good vignette. All right, cool. Okay, so I think I'm going to call this one okay. I'm looking at the little ships out on the horizon. I kind of like those. They add a sense of scale to the scene, so I think I'll leave them where they are. Yeah, the colors feel okay. They're not great, but they're not terrible. It's certainly representative of the mood at that point in the day, and quite different than that bright sky. I'm gonna hit done there. Send that back over into Lightroom, and recap kind of what went through here is really was tightening it up to eliminate the big blue sky that was out there. But the big wrestle with this one, I think, was the white balance, and I'm gonna let the photo sit with me for a little while. What I could share with the video is what we did here with the video, but I may go back and tweak things and work on that white balance a little more once I have time to let that photo percolate. That's kind of how things go sometimes, right? You work on a photo, put it aside for a little bit, come back to it and realize, this is the change I need to make. Or in the terrible cases, well, this is just as good as it's going to get, and I don't like it. But I hope you enjoyed the video and the unprocessed, the unfiltered workflow, right? This is how it goes. This is how we work through photos. A lot of thinking, a lot of trying, some experimentation. And that's how we learn things. So if you got questions, go ahead and drop them below. Got ideas about maybe what I should try to improve the photo? Drop those down there as well. And until next time, my name's Scott Davenport. Have fun.